I wasn't expecting the banquet tables. That feels a little strange. I feel like when there are tables like this, there should be unsweetened iced tea sitting around them. And unsweetened iced tea is terrible. Here's what I want to talk about. In the brief time I have, I want to talk about cool, being cool. And I am very qualified to talk about being cool. I'm extremely qualified. If you want to know my qualifications, just look at me. The swag speaks for itself. But not only that, as Gabe talked about, I'm also a rapper. And rappers are experts on cool. All rappers have PhD level expertise in cool. I haven't smiled in a picture in like 2 decades. If anybody knows cool, it's rappers and black people. So I want to, did I say that? So I want to talk about cool a little bit. It's fine to be cool, and I like cool. Cool is enjoyable, but cool is not a good compass for our entire lives. And I'll tell you a little bit about what I mean by that. One of the interesting things about being seen as cool by people is it always feels good when somebody else thinks you're cool. When somebody thinks that you kind of have it all together, you have the stuff they have, that's a good feeling. And what can happen with that is it becomes addictive. If you think about the last time you felt somebody at least thought you were cool, you got warm, fuzzy feelings inside. And what happens when we get that feeling is it feels so good that no matter who we are, we want to begin to chase it. This isn't only for young men and women either. This is for all of us, no matter who we are. We all want to be somebody's definition of cool. I'm not just talking about dressing cool. I'm not just talking about talking cool. Depending on where you are in your life, cool could mean a bunch of different things. Cool for you could mean, in your circles, could mean tolerant, or it could mean woke, or it could mean progressive, or it could mean conservative, or it could mean hardworking. Probably the best way to define what I'm trying to mean by cool is anything that most of your peers would value, or the people that you want to be your peers would value. So I'm saying cool, but I could say trendy, or I could say accepted. But either way, it's not a good compass for us. And this desire to be cool and accepted and liked can be really dangerous for us as Christians. And here's one of the reasons. When people hear Christian, they don't think cool. They think corny. They think judgmental. And so often what we want to do is we want to be like, hey, I just want to make sure you know I'm one of the good ones. I just want to make sure you know I'm not judging you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to make sure you know I'm one of the cool ones, like the mom on Mean Girls. Have y'all seen Mean Girls? No? All right. If you haven't seen Mean Girls, you're part of the problem. But here's what I want to say about that addiction to being cool and kind of trying to chase it, is when we start to love it so much that we chase it, that acceptance, that approval, that being seen as cool, we can start to make our decisions based on that. So as a rapper who's upfront and clear about my love for Jesus, one of the things that I can be tempted by sometimes is to think about the music I'll write, the songs that I put together, not based on what'll actually be true or helpful for people, but based on what'll make me seem cool to other folks. And that is the easiest way for us to compromise. It's a tragic mistake, and here's how we can twist that in our minds. Because we as Christians, especially those who are not those Christians, we're the good ones, one of the things that we can do is this: we can begin to make coolness the highest virtue in our minds. Because we don't want to be off-putting as Christians. We want people to embrace us. We want people to think that we're nice. And so we can turn the highest virtue into people accepting us, so that we think, if when I did that, people accepted me, that must be the right thing to do. I want to remind you, cool is not the highest virtue. And when we make that our compass and make all our decisions based on that, we'll be in danger of throwing away the actual highest virtues: faith, hope, and love. Cool is great, but it's not the best compass for us. Paul, in one of his letters he wrote to the Thessalonians, he was thanking God for some of the stuff he saw in their life, and here's what he says. He says, "We recall in the presence of our God and Father your work produced by faith, your labor motivated by love, and your endurance inspired by hope in our Lord Jesus Christ." So then, as believers, our work and our labor and our endurance should not be driven by cool or a desire to be cool, but mainly by faith, hope, and love. Faith that God will keep his promises. Hope that Jesus is coming back. Love of God and neighbor. That's what God has called us to be driven by. And too often we trick ourselves and we spend more time trying to cultivate cool than cultivating these soul values in our lives. Faith, hope, and love are much better compasses for us. One way we can tell whether or not we're a little too obsessed with cool or being accepted is how often are you like playing back interactions you had with people. You ever did this? I found myself doing this. I'll be thinking about some conversation like, man, he was cool. And I'm like, man, I wonder if when I said that, did I seem lame? I talked about a book. Does that make me sound like a nerd? I am a nerd, but he don't need to know that. And kind of re-rehearsing these things in our minds. That's one way that we can know whether or not we're too obsessed with what people think about us, appearing cool to other people. I want to encourage you not to be too obsessed with that. Being too obsessed with cool just kind of gives in to this kind of mob mentality. So I want to give 4 reasons cool is a bad compass for our lives. The first one is that cool is fickle. Cool is fickle. Cool adjusts and changes with the time. Just ask some dude who used to be cool in high school. He's still talking about that because that's all he got. Cool changes. Some of y'all ain't laughing because it's you. Conviction, unlike cool, doesn't change. Conviction is this thing, this believing, this faith, right? It doesn't change. It stands firm and it speaks to new situations, right? What we need for a compass is not something that's changing all the time, but something that's firm and reliable. That's why cool is a bad one. Because with cool, true north is always changing, depending on the time, depending on the group of people you're with, who you're trying to please. You don't know where you're going to end up. Different people say different things are cool all the time. Right, there's some of you who say stuff is cool just to try to convince people it's cool. No, church is cool. Homeschooling is cool, and homeschooling is not cool. It never will be. It may honor Jesus, not cool. People say President Obama is the coolest president of all time, and he probably is. But when he takes off his suit, he wears these terrible dad jeans. So is he cool? I don't know. But I just say that to say cool is relative. It depends on who you're talking to. It's a bad thing to really build our lives on. So I want to encourage you, if you feel yourself holding on too much to trying to remain cool, fall out of love with being cool, right? There are things that are just not going to be cool to other folks that you don't need to hold on to. And we cannot lay our lives down for a man as divisive as Jesus while at the same time being liked by everyone around us. They killed Jesus, and if they love us perfectly, then something may be a little bit off. Number 2 reason cool is a bad compass. Cool is about sameness, not strangeness. Right, and so if we've been called to be aliens and strangers in the world, cool cannot be our ultimate gauge. Cool, alien, and strange is a little bit of an oxymoron. One of the reasons is because cool is restrictive. It threatens to cut you off if you stop playing by the rules. And so there's plenty of good stuff that seems strange and not cool in our culture. I got married when I was 21 years old. You would have thought that I joined the dark side the way people looked at me. Like, but what about fun though? I'm like, married? I mean, I might have fun with my wife. Why do you think my life is ending, right? I'm not going to heaven just because I'm getting married. There are plenty of things that are good. It's the best decision I ever made. There are plenty of things that are good that seem strange and not cool in our culture. Third reason, cool is self-obsessed. When we're overly worried about being cool, coming off cool, we're no longer worried about actually encouraging and building up the people we're interacting with. We're trying to build our brand, not build up our brothers or sisters. Cool becomes self-obsessed so that we begin to use people for the little jolt of self-esteem we get when someone thinks we're cool instead of loving people. You ever caught yourself in a situation where you're not thinking about how to build someone up, you're just trying to think about how to make yourself look good? Cool can do that. Last thing, what's cool isn't always what's true. What's cool isn't always what's true. People can say and do dumb things in cool ways, right? And that can attract people to it. Jesus teaches us to shun cool when it conflicts with true, right? So there was a time when it wasn't cool to care about black people or racial justice. There's a time when it wasn't cool to push against that. There's a time when it wasn't cool to care about refugees who are being run from their homes. And it's not cool to care about the rights of the unborn. So what do we do when trendy contradicts true? Which will we choose? I want to encourage you to choose true. No matter how much pressure you feel around you to change, you never have to fold in order to give in to foolishness, because cool is not your compass. Last thing I'll say, if cool is a bad compass, then what's the good one? And I want to point back to those three virtues Paul talked about: faith, hope, and love. He again says, we recall your work produced in faith, your labor motivated by love, and your endurance inspired by hope. The kind of work that's actually worth us chasing and spending our life on is not produced by self-righteousness and self-promotion. It's produced by faith in eternal truths. And our labors that we're called to work hard at should be motivated not by bitterness or competition, but by love. And our endurance, right? When we get pushed back and people don't like us and we're not cool enough, we face different kind of levels of pressure. We should be inspired with hope by the second coming of our Lord, right? This life isn't all I have. I have hope for something beyond this, so I'm good. So if you're in this room today and you are cool, by all means, continue. I salute you. Good job. But we are the people who claim to know an eternal God, and we're the ones who should build our lives on eternal truths, not trying to hop on whatever cool bandwagon we see. Cool is dope as an accessory. It's bad as a compass. If all we got is cool, we'll look good when we show up, but we won't know where we're supposed to go. A much better compass is that faith and love. So I like cool, but I'd rather build my life on conviction, and I'd encourage you to do the same. Thanks.